All righty. So welcome everyone. We are here to talk about life as a first-year student. We have a number of students on our info session today who are going to give you great information about what it's like to be a first-year student at the Brown School. And so we'll go ahead and get started here. A few housekeeping notes before we move into everything. Today's webinar is being recorded. Closed captions are enabled and they can be activated at any time. As we just learned, we're in a Zoom webinar, so we can't see or hear the audience. We can't call on raised hands, but we do invite everyone to use the Q&A feature, not the chat, to submit questions during the conversation today. All of us on the panel will try to answer questions as we can, but we'll try to save some time at the end also for live questions and answers. And then if we don't have time to get to your question, we had many submitted ahead of time too. So will definitely be impossible to get to everything. But if we don't have a chance to get to your question, please just reach out to us via email at brownadmissions@wustl.edu. Everyone here is probably very familiar with that email address by now. And then finally, today's topic is the first-year student experience at the Brown School. So we do ask that everyone please keep questions on topic. We know that there are a lot of probably specific questions about specific situations. So if that is you, please just reach out to us via email with your question and your situation. We've had some questions already about admission decisions. So I just want to remind everyone that if we received your completed application after December 1st, you will receive your decision 6 to 10 weeks after we received your final application material. So that's still the timeline that we're working on right now for admission decisions. But all personal questions, please just email us directly at brownadmissions@wustl.edu. And I just want to make sure we're good to go here. Okay. So just a lot to discuss today. So to prepare for today, we asked our panelists and our other student ambassadors in our office here what was or what would have been most helpful for them to know when they were in all of your shoes. So with their advice, we're going to cover 4 main topics today. First of all, housing and transportation. We received a lot of questions about that. Then we'll talk about part-time jobs, adapting to school and studying smart, and then having fun and making friends. And then, like I mentioned, with time pending at the end, we'll also answer some questions live. We'll be answering a lot of those pre-submitted questions throughout the session today. So I just want to thank everyone who submitted those ahead of time. All right, so on to the panel today. So I realize I haven't introduced myself. Hi, everyone. I'm Shayna Peterson. I'm an admissions and recruitment specialist in the Office of Admissions here at the Brown School. I am joined today by 4 of our current students. We have 2 first-year students and 2 second-year students. So panelists, if you would please introduce yourselves and just share your year, your program, and your specialization, and then where you lived before starting your program at the Brown School. So Amaya, would you like to kick us off?
Sure. Good afternoon for us. Hi to wherever you might be logging in. My name is Amaya. I use she, her pronouns. I am a first-year MSW student, and my concentration is mental health with a focus in child behavioral health. And before moving to the St. Louis area, I lived, born and raised in Northern Virginia.
Mogus, would you like? Oh yeah, go ahead, anyone.
My name is Laura. I'm a second-year MSW student in the Children, Youth, and Families concentration with a school social work track. Before I moved to St. Louis for the Brown School, I was living in Boston.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mogus. I'm first-year MPH student, concentrating in epidemiology biostatistics. Before moving to the Brown School, I lived in Ethiopia. I'm an international student born and raised in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bobby, and I am from Honduras. I'm an international student, a second-year student in the MPH degree, and my concentration is a generalist. And before moving to St. Louis, I lived in Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Thank you all. Such a great representation of degree programs and hometown. So I'm so happy to have all of you here with us. I told all of our ambassadors this before I got on, but my goal today is to talk as little as possible so that you can hear expertise from all of our students. So I know that's who you're here really to hear from. So before we get into the content, a lot of the resources that we cover today will be linked on the admitted student resources page of our website. So you can find this at brownschool.wustl.edu and then click on the tab by that little star that says Life at Brown. Here you'll see, first you'll see important dates to keep in mind, and then you'll want to scroll down to find the resources that we talk about today. So on each of these tabs, you can click on the little plus sign to the left to open up the tab and find links to the resources. So I'll kind of refer back to this page because we have included a lot of information on this page for students. So first up today, we'll talk about housing and transportation. So this is the tab you'll want to click on to find everything that we are about to cover. All right, so all WashU graduate students live off campus. Some students are interested in living on campus. Very occasionally, some campus housing will become available for grad students, but that's super, super rare. So graduate students should really be planning to find off-campus housing. There are several university resources available to assist students with this. So the first one that we've listed here is Quadrangle Housing. This is WashU's off-campus housing affiliate. They manage a variety of university-owned properties located in the neighboring communities around the university. The images here are just a few sample apartments from their website, so you can kind of see what it looks like. You can very easily filter here by neighborhood, number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, price range, things like that. So you can search for a unit. So that is a really good option for students. The second thing we've listed is Apartment Referral Services, ARS. This is a WashU managed service that maintains a list of private landlords. So if you are unable to rent through Quadrangle or you just don't want to rent through them, this office maintains more of a list of privately owned apartments in all the neighborhoods surrounding our campus. So you can view listings online, you can visit their office for more assistance with that. That office also provides assistance with things like planning, budgeting, finding a roommate, safety, understanding tenant rights, contracts, all sorts of things like that. So they are also a fantastic resource for students. We also wanted to mention that international students, there are some, for those of you who are international students, there are some additional resources available through the Office for International Students and Scholars, or OISS. So just follow that link there to that website, and they can they've provided some more international specific resources. And then of course on our admitted student resources page that I showed you a moment ago, we've included even more information for students moving to the area, just kind of like guides to St. Louis neighborhoods, other rental search engines, things like that. So those are the main resources that we wanted to showcase here. But I would love to hear from our panelists now. Would each of you be able to share just how you found housing and how you found roommates if you do have roommates? And so anyone can start.
Sorry. So as I mentioned before, I was living in Boston before coming here. So pretty far. I never made the trip to the city before I moved. So everything I did from a distance. It's definitely possible. I actually found my apartment on apartments.com just by, Googling and looking for apartments. I used the neighborhood guide that the admissions office sends out to kind of figure out what neighborhood I wanted to live in. And then I looked online from there and was able to find something within my budget that way. I do live with two roommates, and I found them both using the spreadsheet that the Brown School put together to connect graduate students.
I can jump in since my experience is pretty similar to Laura's. I also live 13 hours away from St. Louis, so completely virtual. Um, I I found my apartment like 2 weeks before I moved. It was a little stressful, but it happened. Everything is fine. Um, so yeah, just like Trulia, I don't remember the exact website, but Trulia, apartments.com, Zillow, I looked like every day. And then I also similarly used the guide that the Brown School provided. I do live alone, and that was something that was important to me, just because in addition to coming, like starting graduate school, I was excited to kind of like do some personal growth and like live on my own and like figure stuff out for me. So that's just what I decided to do. But I did take a look at the spreadsheet that Laura mentioned in the event that I wanted to find a roommate.
I can go next. I found housing actually through my roommates. I had some connection from my undergraduate days. I was fortunate enough to know some Ethiopians who were studying at the Brown School, and given our background in academic paths, we actually went to the same undergrad schools, and I reached out to them with an idea of living together, and they were open to the idea, and they sought out larger housing in that could accommodate all of us, and this actually made my transition much smoother, and I had a comfortable living situation, which actually aligned with my needs and my preference. And my advice to students is to start forming connections early, and to not hesitate to reach out to people they know, and plan in advance could actually really help you.
So my case is different because I was already living in St. Louis and I moved here with my family. I have two girls, so I looked for a place depending on schools. But yeah, I do recommend that search for people. If you're an international student, search for people from your country, your area, if you're looking for roommates, because that'll make it easier. I have friends from India that live together, so.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah, very similar situations, it sounds like. The roommate spreadsheet that was mentioned, we are planning to do that again this year. That should be available later this spring on our Facebook page for admitted students. So just be sure to join that and keep an eye out for that later in the spring. And then if if you're looking for assistance with this, we're also happy to talk through individual situations with students. If you're looking for like neighborhood recommendations based on your interests and whether you have a car or don't have a car, things like that, we're happy to kind of talk through that. So definitely reach out to us as well. So the next thing I want to talk about is transportation. I just mentioned having a car. This is a common question that we get as well. So we'll have a lot of things to talk to you about here. The university does encourage smart commuting as much as possible. So we have a lot of options for that. Many students have cars, but the first several options I'm going to go through are for those who may not have a car or who may just not want to drive to campus. So you can find all of this information on the University Parking and Transportation website, which is parking.wustl.edu. So I'll go through them. The first option here is our campus circulator and WashU shuttles. So WashU provides shuttle circulators like buses to 7 of the surrounding neighborhoods where many of our students live. We also have a campus to home shuttle that provides a safe ride home 7 days a week for students that live within those shuttle boundaries. The campus itself is pretty walkable, especially the Brown School. We're 3 buildings that are kind of located together on one end of campus. But around the campus, there is also a shuttle that any WashU student can use to kind of get around the campus. There's also an accessible transportation shuttle for students with disabilities or medical conditions who may need assistance. The image there on the right of TripShot is an app that you'll use if you want to use that shuttle. And so that provides live shuttle tracking for WashU community members. I believe you have to have a WashU email address to even get access to that. So that's really nice. And then the second option that I listed here is Metro Transit. So this is the St. Louis public transportation system. We have buses and a light rail system that go throughout the city and in the metro region. So all full-time students will receive a bus pass, a light rail and a bus pass through the Metro Transit. So that will allow you to get to and from campus as well as around the St. Louis area. The third option there is biking. So lots of students bike. This is a really great option, especially if you live in a nearby neighborhood. WashU has actually been designated as a gold level bicycle friendly university, which I think is really cool. So I learned that in preparing for this webinar. I didn't know that before. So that was really cool. We have lots of bike paths, lots of just very bikeable areas on our campus and the surrounding area. So you can register your bike for free on campus. The university provides free bike tune-ups a few times a year. Bear Bikes, which I've linked there, is also a really good resource for students. So this is a student-owned and operated bike shop, and they're available for repairs, bike rentals, bike storage, things like that. So lots of really good biking options for students and staff. The fourth thing I listed is the car share program through Enterprise. So if you don't have a car and you do need a car for something, this is a really great option. It's free to join for those with a WashU email. And then the cost to rent is $5 an hour. There are dedicated enterprise car spaces around campus as well. So that's a really nice option if you do need a car for something. And then finally, parking permits are available to students, staff, faculty, anyone at WashU. There are several garages on campus for students and staff. You can purchase permits for monthly use, daily use. There are a couple of options there depending on your needs and how often you'll be on campus. And there are also plenty of free parking areas in the surrounding neighborhoods, streets, and then Forest Park is our big park, and that's right across the street from the university. So a lot of people, students and staff will find free parking in the park and then just walk over here. The walk from the park to the Brown School is pretty fast. It's about maybe like 10 minutes, maybe 15, depending on where you park. So those are some really good options for transportation, but I would again love to hear from our panel. First of all, do you have a car? Do you have a car here? And then how do you get around campus? How do you get around the St. Louis area, especially if you need to go to like the grocery store or the airport, things like that. So who would like to start? Actually, I would love for Mogus to start because Mogus, I know you're an international student, so I think that's an even bigger question for a lot of those students.
Yeah, okay, I can start. Yes. I currently don't have a car, but getting around campus in St. Louis area isn't actually a problem for me. And I live close enough to the school and I can walk here, and it's about 30 minutes walk. And my route actually takes me through the Forest Park, which happens to be one of the largest parks in the US. And I really enjoy these walks to school because not only they are safe, and that I found it to be quite therapeutic for me. I enjoy walking through the forest park. I live midway through the forest park, so it takes me around 30 minutes to walk. For those times where I don't feel like walking, I can use the campus shuttles. They are very convenient. They run every 20 minutes, and starting from 7 a.m. Until late at night. They are a great way to move around and without any hassle. And for exploring more of the St. Louis area, as Shayna mentioned, we have the U-Pass. This is a fantastic option because it allows us to use metro bus and trains for free, and it opens ways for exploring the city for free. And recently, both of my roommates actually bought a car, and we have even more options to go buy groceries. Before that, we used to order our groceries online and had delivered it through our front door. So it's not that difficult. So I can say it's not a problem to not own a car. And from my experience, I would say it's worth considering living within walking distance or within shuttle ride from the campus. And it actually simplifies your commutes and lets you enjoy the beauty of Forest Park.
For sure, delivery is a great option. I think that's
Yes.
like one of the nice benefits over from the last couple of years. Thanks, folks. Bobby, were you gonna? Yeah, please.
Yeah, I can talk because I have a car and I park in zone. I mean, the closest zone to park in the Brown School is zone 1, but I do share parking with another person, so I park in zone 3 and walk, which is like a 10-minute walk. But sometimes I've done the Forest Park free parking, and that's like 7 minutes. That's even closer. So you can do that. But yeah, that's where I usually park. And I pay like for the year, so that's an option. So it's like unlimited parking. But when I share the parking, I do like the free at Forest Park and just cross Skinker.
So I also use a car to get to school and for most other things. When I was looking for housing, I did not pay a lot of attention to transportation routes. Looking back, I would absolutely change that because where I live is not very accessible for either public transportation or the WashU shuttle. So if that's how you're planning to get around, definitely take that into consideration when you're finding your spot. As Moga said, if you're living in a good spot that's accessible, it works great. For me, I take advantage of the free street parking. I park close to the Del Mar Loop, which is an area that's pretty close to campus, and I walk about 10 minutes to get to the Brown School.
I also just brought my car just for ease because I live so far, and I do use my car to get around. I actually live about I kind of live in between like campus and like downtown and like the midtown area, so it's like 10 minutes like either way. The one thing that I've appreciated about like St. Louis is there is a little bit of traffic, but compared to like the DMV area, it's a breeze. So I really enjoyed that. And then to get to class or to get to work, I do normally park on Skinker and walk about like 10 minutes.
Thanks, everyone. Good, good, good variation of options there. So, and again, I just want to point everyone to the parking and transportation website here, parking.louisville.edu, because that's where you can also see like the shuttle routes. So Laura mentioned, if she were to do it again, she would kind of like look at those shuttle routes when she was picking the neighborhood that she wants to live in. And so those are all linked on that website. So as you're getting later into the spring, looking for housing, that's definitely something that's a good resource there for you. Okay, so now we'll talk about finding part-time jobs on campus. Again, a very, very, very common question among students. Most Brown School students do work part-time in some capacity. So if you are an admitted student already, congratulations. First of all, a lot of people are asking about starting to look for jobs. Now is a little bit early in the year. Most students will actually start securing jobs a little bit later in the spring, over the summer, and into the early part of the fall semester. But I'll talk now. First of all, this is where you'll find some information about jobs on that admitted student resources page. And then I'll talk a little bit about some options that are available and how most students find jobs. And then we'll go back to the panel to see what they've done. So there are a few ways that students find jobs here on campus. First of all, that admitted student resources page, we are posting positions as we learn of them. We don't always hear about all of them, but if we hear about them, we will post them there. So keep an eye on that. The best option really for finding jobs is our campus job posting platform called Handshake. You can see the little logo in the lower right-hand corner there. So students who enroll will receive access to this platform later in the spring or in the summer when you receive your student email, your WashU email. So positions that are on campus and off campus will be posted on Handshake on that platform throughout the year. So that's really how a lot of students do find part-time jobs. The other option is that the university typically holds a part-time job fair early in the fall semester, typically like the week after orientation in the fall. So that's a great way to meet and to connect with employers on campus and off campus. So as you're thinking about jobs and thinking about what you might like to do, listed here just a few positions to kind of keep in mind that we see as common with Brown School students. So first of all, research assistantships, very common among Brown School students. The Brown School has over 20 different research centers, and those are staffed by faculty, professional staff, and students. So that is a common role for students to fill. There are other campus-based positions, such as the library, service center, of course, the Office of Admissions and Recruitment, and then you can be on this panel next year with us, residential life positions, Center for Diversity and Inclusion, and then the Gephardt Institute for Civic and Community Engagement. Those are sort of the main areas that we see Brown School students working. And then, of course, off-campus positions are also always an option. I would say like a lot of students kind of like to get off campus and do something off campus. So keep that in mind. Those opportunities are primarily going to be available to domestic students just due to student visa requirements for international students though. So just keep that part in mind. So panel, going back to you now, if you could share, if you have a part-time job or more than one, I know a couple of you have more than one part-time job, if you could share what you do and then how you found your position. And then the other part of that question is how many hours a week do you feel is realistic for someone to work during their first year? And so Amaya, can we start with you? Because I know you have at least 2 jobs.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do have 2 jobs. They are both on campus. I work at the Brown School Library and I work at the admissions office at the Brown School. I found both of those jobs pretty early. I was like anxious about like moving. So I would check Handshake way earlier than anything was posted. But I think I found them like early August or mid-August, right before classes started. And I currently work about, if I can do math, I'd say like 13 to 15 hours a week, which is okay for me. I will like my jobs on campus aren't like the most taxing things in the world. So it is nice to kind of just come in. I of course have tasks, but it's not like I don't know, really important job. But so that's helpful in terms of like job responsibilities. But I do feel like the 13 to 15 range is okay. I do believe also the cap for work during the semester is 20 hours a week. I might be wrong. But yeah, 13 to 15 hours seems like okay for me.
I can go next. So I've had numerous jobs over the course of my time at the Brown School. Currently, I'm doing, in addition to admissions work, I'm doing care for some adults with disabilities in home, in addition to like nannying and babysitting as I have availability. Last year, I also did work at an early morning childcare center, which was really nice because that allowed me to like get in a few hours of work before I started class and practicum, which is helpful. I found the out of off-campus jobs through care.com and through the Brown School Facebook alumni page. People who graduated from the Brown School will often reach out to current students if they're looking for help, a lot of the time with childcare, but often it's for like other odd jobs or tasks too, and even more like official part-time work that's social work related. So that's definitely a great resource, a great page to be a part of. You can request to join as soon as you're an admitted student, I think. Definitely during your first year, you can join, even though it's like an alumni page. I would say I would kind of agree with Amaya that 15 hours is like a good kind of cap to keep in mind. I worked about 20 hours a week during my first year. And I know people who did more than that, but it's crazy. It asks a lot of you to be putting in more than 15 hours a week. And in my second year, I've had to even like scale back a little more as I have more internship hours and stuff. Yeah.
Uh, oh, I can jump in. So I work at the Global Programs Office, and I have a position as a peer mentor. So I help mentors other students, and we also do organize events such as potlucks, Christmas potlucks, Ramadan. We're doing right now a cultural showcase. So we organize those kind of events. We're going to do focus groups with international students to know about their experiences. And I found the position through email. I think Tammy emailed everyone and I applied and that's how I got it. So it's not too much, I think. Only like when there's events or stuff that we need to organize, but that's what I do. And I think you're not allowed to work more than 20 hours a week, maybe 40 in spring break, but I definitely do not do all those hours. So it's nice to have the time to do the job and also have time for class and homework.
And then Mogus, do you want to share?
Sorry, I didn't see it was muted. So yes, I do have an on-campus job, and I found this opportunity at a job fair that was held on campus, and I met with Shayna, who was your recruiting admission student ambassadors, and interestingly, Shayna had been my admission contact, and we have already exchanged several emails regarding different matters. And when I saw her at the fair, I took the opportunity and asked about job openings, and she mentioned the student ambassador position, and she encouraged me to apply and direct me to a platform called Handshake, and that's used for posting job openings and applying for a position, and so that's basically how I landed my on-campus job. Also shares that realistically working 15 to 20 hours per week is good, but I know friends who work as much as 35 hours per week and still managing their academic coursework, but I would say up to 15 hours is manageable.
Thanks, Mogus. So it sounds like about 15 hours is what most of our students do. Amaya mentioned a 20-hour cap. I know that international students are capped at 20 hours per week. You might be right, Amaya, for domestic students on campus, they might be capped at 20. I'm actually not sure about that, but it sounds like 20 is certainly the cap that anyone would want to do. Thanks all for sharing all of that. To move on here. So I'm really excited to hear panelists' input on this section, just adapting to school, studying smart. A big part of grad school is, of course, adapting to the school environment. And we have students here who are coming straight from undergraduate programs. We also have a lot of students who are returning to the classroom after being out for many years. And so we do want students to know that there are several supports in place at both the Brown School and at the Greater WashU community just to kind of help students with that transition. So we've listed here some Brown School resources and then some WashU student resources that are available for all students, and I specifically listed some that are geared towards graduate students here. So at the Brown School, a few that I wanted to highlight were the Stat Lab. So Stat Lab assists students with statistics and programming work. The Communications Lab is there to assist students with writing. We have our own Brown School Library, which is a wonderful resource for students. And we have just amazing staff and librarians, and Amaya can help you there too, for all things related to research. Other Brown School resources for students are the Office of Equity, Diversity, Inclusion, Professional Development Program, the Office of Field Education, and of course the Global Programs Office. It's not listed there, but that's a wonderful resource for international students as well. And then in the greater WashU community, a good website to check out is listed there, students.wustl.edu. This is where, again, you'll find resources for all graduate students, all students, but again, these are kind of geared towards graduate students. So a few that I wanted to highlight are disability resources. So this is the official resource for students on the Danforth campus, which is our main campus, who have disabilities or and they may need assistance determining accommodations, specifically in the classroom. The Graduate Center is another great resource. They offer dedicated spaces, programming, training, things like that, other resources for graduate and professional students at the university. The Tech Den provides technology services to the WashU community with a particular focus on graduate and professional students. And then many, many other supports and offices that I've listed there are in place just to kind of help with overall health and wellness for students. So I want to jump back to the panel again. First of all, in terms of adapting to school, we had a lot of questions submitted about just kind of like how many hours a week do you do homework? What are classes like? Are first year classes more lecture, or are they group work and discussion? So I know I just asked a couple of questions there, but would anyone like to just kind of talk about what your workload looks like? What do your classes look like your first year? And then what does your workload and your homework look like outside of the classroom?
I can start. I have a little bit more distance from the first year course load, but well, first of all, I think the answer to all those questions like really depends on your professor. The foundation year, everybody's kind of enrolled in similar classes with very similar or even sometimes identical syllabi. And even when that's true, the professor that you get determines a lot of how your class time is broken down and kind of general homework load. But I would say in general, most foundation classes are a good mix of lecture and small group discussion, like in the class time. Typically, every class has a couple of big individual assignments, whether those are essays or presentations, and usually at least one, if not more, group projects too. Sometimes group papers, sometimes presentations. And again, depending on the class, a lot of that can take place in the classroom, like working with your groups. A lot of the time, you also need to find time to coordinate outside of class too. In terms of general homework load, it varies so much by the time in the semester. Close to midterms and the end of the year, I was spending many hours a week on homework. But during most of the year, time spent on homework feels very manageable. I'm hesitating to say like a specific hour number from last year because I don't want to be wrong. So maybe I'll let one of these guys who are in the middle of it right now answer that part of the question.
I'm not a good numbers person. I don't know how to do or like averages. Average homework a week. I mean, I think in assignments wise, it's kind of like broken into like readings versus like the bigger assignments that Laura was mentioning. The readings, since we only meet once a week, like per class, it is pretty heavy. I'd say anywhere from like heaviest like 4 hours to maybe like a couple of articles or podcasts where professors will kind of break it up. And then for those bigger assignments, yeah, I've definitely done like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, due on Monday situation. I don't recommend that, but it happens like that sometimes. And then definitely echo what Laura was saying in terms of like the split between lecture and group work. There is a lot of group work. For me, I did do a good amount of group work in like undergrad, but this is definitely a different level of group work that's very characteristic to I think like social work and public health and policy programs, but definitely manageable. I think I took like maybe a month or a month and a half to where I felt like I fully had a grasp on the academic side of things. And now I've definitely been excited to, as I continue into my second year, take more focused classes because I did feel like the foundation level courses were a little bit of a review, which can be helpful, but sometimes like frustrating at times because you want to like jump into things that you're really passionate about. Um, but you'll do it. I think the cohort model in the Brown School really helps because if you're struggling, I guarantee someone around you is struggling, so you can find some community there and just make it through.
I can go. So for me, I can talk about the MPH. The first foundational courses are very tough: epidemiology, biostatistics, and then there's applied linear modeling. And they take a lot of time. But if you spend some time on the weekends and see the lectures, go to class, it's doable. It's all doable. And I have children that I had to pick up after school. So I would like study and work, like use the mornings when they weren't here to do homework and do that. So, but yeah, those foundational classes do take a lot of time. I think they are just for MPH students to take those classes, but yeah, focus on those. And they're at least epidemiology and biostatistics are the first year. So yeah, spend some time on that. And I would recommend, enough sleep, healthy snacks, that kind of thing. Oh, and for me, for example, there's a lot of readings and stuff, and that also takes time. So if you read slow, like if you take some time reading and you're like on the same sentence for more than 30 minutes, just take a break, look out the window, get off your desk. That's very important. Take those little breaks. That way you can come back and focus, because there is a lot of reading, writing, and it can get overwhelming. But yeah, take those small breaks.
I would actually love to stay on this topic a little bit with just study habits, studying well, adapting to school. I've heard many of you say, like, sometimes this happens, I don't recommend it, or I wish that I would have done this. So, I think like I would love to hear just general study tips from any of you. There's, Fabi, you just mentioned, and there's a lot of reading, there's a lot of writing. Amaya talked about all the group work. So, what kind of tips would you give our incoming students just for like studying well and studying smart and hopefully having less stress?
I can go ahead and say a few things, and
Yeah.
I would say getting used to grad school actually can be easier if you know how to make it work for you. And speaking from my experience, one good way is to become friends with students who are already in their second year. And I'm saying this because I know a lot, and they have been through the first year and they know a lot of things, and they can tell you what to study, where to go for help, and even things like where to relax and study outside your room. And this kind of made me manage my stress, and I usually try to find a quiet place to study at home, and I try to focus on understanding the material instead of just trying to remember everything. And when I got stuck, I wouldn't shy away from asking for help. And additionally, I would advise taking regular breaks and finding time to relax and have fun is also a key for me. And I would say it's all about finding a good balance. And by doing these things, grad school could actually could be actually managed well.
So I can add a little something. For me, the most helpful tool for getting through work and getting it all done was using a planner. I like tried to do that in undergrad. It never worked for me. But something about the first year of grad school and needing to fit all the many blocks into the limited hours of the day, having a planner, like a weekly and a daily one, was so helpful for me, to prioritize certain homework, what needed to get done by what date. And also, I'm so glad that Amaya mentioned readings. We do get assigned a lot of readings, and you could spend like infinite time on reading. So what I really recommend, what has ended up working really well for me, is prioritizing the readings that I'm most interested in. Some professors will assign like more reading that you're like required to do per week than is really possible. Some are more limited and then have like a lot of optional readings. In either situation, I would really suggest like look for the topics that you feel the most drawn to or the most interested in. Read those first. And if you have time to get to the other ones, great. And if not, it happens. And like learning that made my life way more manageable. So yeah, that's my number one. I guess those are two tips. Those are my two top tips.
I can echo a little bit. Definitely take the tips from Laura in terms of reading. I mean, there's so much, but you'll be okay. The other thing is I haven't experienced so far like multiple choice exams where the professor is asking in chapter 10 of this book, page whatever, like it not so much like recall information as like understanding the main concepts. And it is largely from my experience like applying main concepts and like contributing in class. So the kind of fine details isn't as important as long as you feel like you're following and you have a good relationship or you're trying to work on your relationships with your classmates and your professors. So if you aren't understanding something that might be integral to the course or to your program, you're able to find that support. I Yeah, it's a lot, but just trying to pull out things that are interesting or things that like your professor might mention that you should really pay attention to, and like doing the best you can to just kind of get the main concepts.
They're all really good. I wanted to mention too, someone, I can't remember who mentioned peer mentoring or talking to older students. I think it was you, Mogus. We do have a peer mentoring program at the Brown School too, so keep that in mind. Your first year, you'll get probably an email just asking if you're interested in having a second year student as a mentor. So I think that's a great thing to take advantage of and, get some wisdom from people who've been through it already. I know we are coming up on time, so I want to make sure to get to this next part, which I think is really important. So just kind of like talking about social life. So, school is about studying and learning, of course, but it's also about building your community and having a really good support network. So there are a few sections on our admitted student webpage there that we provided some links for you to start getting connected with other admitted students. So keep those in mind. But just some pictures here of just some fun things that happen around campus. There are a lot of opportunities to meet students at the Brown School and also at the greater Washington University setting. So we have a number of student groups for graduate students within the Brown School. Those include Student Coordinating Council, Global Health at Brown, the American Indian Student Association, among other groups, university-wide student groups for grad students. There are lots of those, including the Black Graduate Student Association, Outgrads, WashU Graduate Nature Trippers, which I think sounds really fun, Woostle Ballroom, Woo Vets to support veterans. Again, many, many others. I just wanted to mention a couple there. And all of these groups organize, different outings in St. Louis or on-campus events. I've seen emails recently for students going to a hockey game, going ice skating, doing tours of St. Louis. There was a Valentine's party at the Brown School school back in February. So lots of different things like that. But I would love to hear from our students just about how you've made friends during your graduate program, and how you kind of like balance having a social life and building your community along with all of the reading you have to do.
I love to talk about this because I don't know if this is something that's unique to my class or not, but there were some students in my first year who, in the first couple weeks of class, decided that there needed to be a better way for students to connect with each other. So, like, totally of their own volition, without any support from the school, they like organized a weekly happy hour at a local restaurant. And they created these cute little like textable images with like the date and times. And we're like, share this with everyone. And so like almost every week for the whole first year, a group of people met. Like I didn't go every week, but lots of people did. A group of people met and got like snacks and drinks together. And that was amazing. That was like really let me feel like I was like a part of something and getting to know people outside of class. And that was just like literally something that somebody decided, like made up on their own. So I encourage other people to do that. Like when you're here, it was great. Yeah. And then I lived with roommates and that made it easier for me. Someone who's like naturally a little bit more shy usually, it's an easy way in. I also still have friends that I met during orientation. We like had lunch together the first day and we've been friends ever since. So yeah. Also do take advantage of those free events like the ice skating and the hockey game and all the I try to do as many as I can and they're great.
I can echo that. My moving from Virginia to the St. Louis area, like making friends was something that caused me a little bit of anxiety because I hadn't made friends in like 4 years. So I was nervous about that. And I did find or have found that all of the friends that I have now were just very like naturally occurring. We were, especially during first year, taking similar classes, spending all day together practically. And so you just talk about class stuff and then you talk about other stuff. Um, and so very naturally occurring. I know that oftentimes when I would like work with people in groups for assignments as like a happy hooray, we finished the assignment, we would often like go out for dinner after. And so there's people who like I've maybe seen once or twice around the Brown School, but we would get dinner and then now like they're my friends. I call them my friends now. So very naturally occurring. And then I always keep an eye out on like our emails because there are a lot of events, a lot of free events or like very discounted events that the Brown School offers. I went to a ballet show a couple weeks ago and it was like $10 and it was so fun.
I can go ahead and mm, I would say we were also talking about this the other day, and here in the Brown School, there's actually a large community of international students, and you would hear people coming from countries that you've never heard of. Maybe you can find it. Like I had one experience. He was telling me he came from this country, and I did not even know this country existed. So you would that's a huge amount of experience you could insights and culture things you will learn from. So I think it's kind of exciting and but generally building a social network and an environment can be challenging and I would say making friends in the Brown School through your group assignments and your day-to-day interactions, you could actually make a lot of friends and something outside of the school. One thing that was good, very good in building my social connection for me was going to church for me, and this going to church actually provided me with a sense of community and connection right from the start, and it was a welcoming atmosphere and with shared values, and I could say I have formed many meaningful relationships, and They have been incredibly supportive, not just socially, but they also offer me advice and encouragement through my academic journey. So that's something you could actually look for even outside of academic work.
Mogus. We are right at time, but Fabi, I want to give you a chance to, if you wanted to answer that question and give us one last word of wisdom.
Sure. So most of my friends I met in class, there's some opportunity to do group work. So that's where we would meet. And sometimes over coffee or lunch. So that helps going to class and these groups. But just, try to take advantage of all the free events, free lunches, anything that when you read your email and all those invitations, those are made for students. People are super nice, and especially if you're an international student and you can find, someone from your country or someone from your region or someone who speaks your own language. That's just, I hear someone speaking Spanish and I just approach them, oh, you speak Spanish. So that helps a lot. Try to be social because yeah, it helps. It's very overwhelming, but having these friends, these connections, someone to lean on is super important. I highly recommend it.
Awesome. So find your community here, and there's a lot of different ways to do that, it sounds like. So, wow, this hour went by really quickly. So I'm sorry we didn't get to live Q&A, but it looks like my colleagues were able to answer a lot of questions. So thank you to them. This last slide here is just some important reminders of upcoming dates and deadlines that we have. We're currently still accepting applications for rolling review. April 1st is our final deadline for international applicants to apply. We have a few upcoming virtual info sessions just like this one. So March 22nd, a couple weeks from now, we'll talk about tips for incoming international students. April 5th, our topic will be using your degree from the Brown School. And of course, our 2024 Admitted Student Weekend is coming up in just about 5 weeks, which is really exciting. We have virtual programming on Friday, April 12th, and then in-person and live streamed programming on Saturday, April 13th. So you can scan that code to register for that. You can register on our website. And then a few final ways to get connected with us. You all know our email at this point, brownadmissions@wustl.edu. Get in touch with us to talk to me, to talk to any of our ambassadors, schedule a visit in person or virtually. And that's about it. I want to thank everyone again for attending today. It was so great just to get all these questions ahead of time and see them coming in. So I want to really thank our panel of students as well, Amaya, Laura, Mogus, and Fabi. Thank you all so much for your insight, all of your tips, your wisdom. I know it's really, really appreciated. So, and I learned a lot from you just listening today. So really appreciate all of you. And thank you to everyone who attended. And we hope to see you again soon. Bye, everyone. Oops.